Hello everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of Find My Past from home. Hopefully it's my first solo run today, so hopefully everyone can hear and see me. Do give us a shout in the comments if that is the case. I'll give it a few minutes whilst people are joining, and you can let us know where you're tuning in from, how the weather is, and what you're up to this bank holiday weekend if you are so lucky to be partaking. So some of you may not know who I am. This is only my second time hosting Facebook Live. So my name is Liam. I work in the customer support team, and we're based in Dundee in Scotland. Dundee's looking not too bad at the moment, quite grey, quite overcast, but it's warm enough and it's meant to be quite good over the weekend too. So hopefully we can get out and about and enjoy that. So we can see a few people joining there. So we've got Andrea from Stoke-on-Trent. We've got Victoria from sunny Suffolk. Like the use of the emojis there. Happy Easter, everyone, as well. We've got Janet from North Wales. Bright but cool. Not a bad day, not a bad spring day. Don't mind a bright and cool day, as long as it's dry. That's the main thing anyway. We've got Paul tuning in from a dreary Warrington. Hope it clears up for you soon, Paul, and you can get out and about as well. Enjoy something over the weekend too. We've got Anya coming in, just back from Dundee actually. Good stuff. Glad you made it across the Tay safe and sound anyway. Good stuff. Who else have we got? We've got Manny from a lovely sunny day in County Clare in the west coast of Ireland. Great stuff. Glad to hear you've got the sun over there as well. And bit of contrast, we've got Susan from a snowy Good Friday in the middle of Canada. So rather you than me, Susan, I have to say. As I say, it's grey and overcast, but warm enough here. So hopefully the snow clears up and you can get out and about as well. So yeah, good to see so many of you. As I say, it's only my second time hosting and the first solo run. So you're going to have to bear with me. I know you're used to a high quality production here, but we've done a few trial runs. We should be good to go. But as I say, just bear with me if anything isn't going to plan. So as usual, we've got some new records to talk about, some new newspapers as well, some very exciting news on the newspaper front as well to be shared with you. We're going to look at some hints and tips that might help you, and a record set that you may have missed, something you might not have used before. And as always as well, there is a question of the week. I'll pop that on the screen for you now as well, so you can start getting your answers in nice and early. It is actually World Art Day today. So if anyone has any artistic ancestors, whether it's a painter, sculptor, illustrator, comic book artist, whatever it might be, do start getting those answers in. We'll come back to that later on in the stream. If you don't have any artistic ancestors, but you yourself got any artistic flair, do let us know as well. Always looking forward to seeing that. So yeah, start getting your answers in there. And yeah, we'll come back to that down the line and start reading a few of them out. So as I say, hope everyone's having a good bank holiday weekend. If you are there, let us know what you got planned, what you're getting up to there. Just notice comment there. Sorry, we've got Sandy. She's watching on YouTube. We're also live on the Find My Past Facebook page as well, Sandy. So if you wanted to jump over there and get involved with the conversation with everyone, do feel free. We're on Facebook and YouTube. We are, so you can give us a shout there. So yeah, good to see some questions of the week coming in already. As we've got new records to discuss, so we'll do that first of all. If you've not seen the blog or the email, my shirt is a little bit of a clue as to where the records are from this week. Got some exciting additions to some collections, so we'll have a look at them first of all, and then we will get going with the rest of the show. So if I can add some slides to the screen first of all. So you should be seeing a transcript from the Scotland Roman Catholic Parish Baptism Collection. So as there's updates to collections this week. And on the Scotland Roman Catholic Parish Baptism side of things, we have 4,000 new baptisms being added to this collection, which actually brings the collection to a grand total of 1.2 million records in the Scotland Roman Catholic Parish Baptism Collection. So you can imagine how many names are actually out there on that collection. And of course, it's not just the names of the person getting baptized that we're looking at there. You'll also find things like the parents' names. Some of these also include the mother's maiden name, which we all know is a great addition to any record. Always good to have that on the family tree. But not just the baptized person or the parents as well. I'm sure I don't need to tell you all this, but always check the original images. I've got an example of the original image that was attached to that record. That was Mary Ann Anderson. She's second on the list there. That's just a snippet of the record, but on some of these images, as well as the family, you might also find the sponsors or the godparents as well, which I know Jen loves talking about her fan research. That'll definitely help you with the fan research, or might even give aunts and uncles or parent siblings a look as well. And you might even find the name of the priest who carried out the ceremony. So as I say, definitely check the original image attached to them. As well as baptisms, there are additions. Oh, slide's gone a little bit wonky there, do apologise. The Scotland Roman Catholic Parish Marriages has also received a bit of an update this week as well. So there are 10,000 new marriages in this collection being added this week. That takes that one to close to 600,000 records in the collection. So you can definitely have a look through them if you do have any ancestors, whether they're born or maybe eloped to Scotland and got married up here as well. You can find them in this new collection. As I say, I am obviously Scottish myself. This has been a great collection for me in my research so far. So definitely one I will be getting into over the weekend. Got an example of a transcription there. And again, I don't need to tell you this, but make sure you're checking the original images. You can see the detail in that example of the original image there. We have got obviously the spouses' names, we've got parents' names, witnesses' names, even some addresses to have a look into as well. So that obviously gives you some good clues and some potential addresses if it's out with a census year. It's a bit more recent, as this one is from 1945. On the note of these records, you may be interested to know that we actually now have the largest collection of Scottish Roman Catholic records online. So if, like me, you have Catholic ancestors in Scotland, definitely be sure to have a look at these over the weekend and see if these new additions are from your ancestors' parish. So when we're looking at that image as well, just to note, you'll see that some of it is in Latin. You'll see on the left side there, the text is in Latin, and that's quite common for parish records, not just in Scotland, but from all over the place as well. You'll definitely see Latin written on there. And I thought I'd take this opportunity we'll play a little game. Going to put you to the test this Friday afternoon, and we're going to do a little Latin quiz. See how much you know. I know some of you maybe done it at school, or I know some of you have been looking through these records already. You can see Anya in the comments there. She's already been having a look through these records last night, so she's already dug in, hopefully giving herself a bit of a head start on the quiz. Full disclosure, my Latin is absolutely terrible, as you're probably about to find out with my pronunciation of some of these words. These were all pulled from a very handy blog post that we have online. That's a genealogist's guide to Latin. We've got Niall in the comments today, so he will be putting a link to that in the comments, but not just yet, because I don't want any cheating on the test. You can have a look at that afterwards and refresh the memory. So let's go to the first word. Your typing fingers ready, and you can let us know the English translation of this. So first word is Anno Domini, very common one that you would see on a parish record. If anyone knows what Anno Domini means, get your answers in the comments. Jane, quick off the mark. See, Pam, yet spot on. Absolutely, that is, Anno would be year, Anno Domini as a whole is year of our Lord. So as I say, a very common one that you would find on a parish baptism, marriage, or even a burial. So that was the first one. I'm going to start this off easy. It does get a little bit trickier in the last couple, so we'll see how we get on there. So next one, if you're ready. Die. What does die mean? Mean tip, it's not the same as it is in English. It's not going to be that easy. But what does die mean in Latin? Again, very, very common. It was actually on the slide that I showed. If you were paying attention to the parish marriage, it was on there. If anyone knows what die would mean. Yeah, oof. Janet and Pam are battling it out for the quickest answers there. Yep, die would be day, on the day, date. So again, something you'll definitely find on a good few of the parish marriages. Yeah, a few of you getting that one there. Starting to think I've made this too easy. I think I've kind of, because my own Latin's so terrible, I may have underestimated some of you, so apologies. But we've got a few more. So natus, as I say, apologies for any Latin speakers, or I am absolutely butchering the pronunciation of these, but natus is the next one. Yeah, a few of you getting that one as well. Born, birth. Yeah, that's the one. Born, birth, same sort of thing. That would be, so again, you'd be looking for that on a or parish baptism typically. That would be appearing. Yeah, a few of you getting, Pam again getting that one. Susan Lloyd, well done everyone. We have got two more. So the next one, this is one I did have to Google the pronunciation of. Domicilium. Domicilium. Doesn't appear on every parish record, but if it does, it's a very handy one indeed. Yeah, Jane again getting that. Yeah, so residence that would be. So yeah, residence, address, house, abode, all the same sort of thing. So, and did Gaelic in school, not Latin. So I'll maybe do a Gaelic quiz later on at some point. We can get you involved as well there. And so yeah, domicilium, residence, living, home, exactly. And the last one, as I say this, I'm going to say it's the hardest, but you are smashing this so far already, so it might not be that tricky. Cognomen. Cognomen. What do we think that means? Give you a few seconds to get your answers in. As I say, these were all pulled from a blog post, so don't for a second think I'm fluent in Latin at all here. This is all pulled from the blog, which, as I say, Niall will be so kind to put in the comments later on, but not just yet. Last one. Yeah, Paul's got it. Last name, that would be surname. So again, if you are looking at parish records in Latin, last name, cognomen. Yeah, Victoria's got it as well. So yeah, as I say, just wanted to see if it was just me whose Latin was that bad. And apparently it is. These are all smashing that. A few people getting the answer. A few of you definitely got that, all five right, I would say. So well done. No prizes this time, I'm afraid, but I'll maybe get one arranged if we do a quiz in the future. We can get something sorted for you maybe. So no, very well done to everyone. As I say, put my Latin to shame, and I put myself to shame as well with the pronunciation of some of these. So well done. So that's the new records that we've added this week. But of course, it's not just records that are added every week. We also do newspapers every week. And this week is no different. We have got a selection of new titles and updated titles as well. So on the new title side of things, we have got the Cleveland Standard, the Tonbridge Free Press, and the Woodbridge Reporter. They're all brand new to the website. And we've also got updated titles as well, a few updated, more years available. Things like the Alliance News, the Civil and Military Gazette, the Leek Times. I've already made a fool of myself with the Latin pronunciation, so I'm not going to attempt the Welsh and embarrass myself even further, but Welsh titles as well, as always. So if any of them look interesting to you, be sure to be having a look at them over the weekend. And on the topic of newspapers, if you've been paying attention to the blog, or you might have seen on social media as well, that this week actually marks 50 million newspaper pages between on Findmypast and the British Newspaper Archive. So 50 million pages. You can imagine how many stories are in there, how many photographs, how many articles, all sorts of things to be found in the newspaper. So 50 million, massive, massive shout out to the team at the British Newspaper Archive and the licensing team as well for making that possible. And because we've hit 50 million pages, we thought we would give you something back or give you the chance to win something. So if you go to the Facebook page or the Twitter page, we are running a giveaway for a free 12-month pro subscription. So you can get stuck into the newspapers with that 12-month pro subscription. All you have to do is tell us your favorite family history story of your own. As I say, it's available on Facebook and on Twitter. It does close at 5 p.m. today, so I will try and finish up a few minutes early so you can all get a chance to enter that. And if not, you can hold me personally responsible for any late entries there. So yeah, Niall's got the link in the blog to the 50 million pages there, so you can have a little look at that and see some fun facts and events about that. So that is the new records and the new newspapers. As I say, definitely ones that I'm going to be getting stuck into over the weekend. The family in Scotland, of course. So a lot of good stuff to get into there. We'll remove that on there. Jane, 2 years of high school Latin paid off. So I knew it was going to come in handy eventually, Jane. I bet you didn't expect to be sitting on Facebook in 2022 still using that 2 years of Latin. But as I say, no prizes, unfortunately, but very well done. I know you were one that definitely got all 5 correct there. Good stuff. So yeah, as Niall says there, keep getting your question of the week answers in. We will be coming back to that in the future. Victoria asking there, how much detail do you need to give for a competition? So no restriction on any detail. Feel free to share as much as you feel comfortable with or as much as you feel is necessary. Not looking for War and Peace or anything like that. You won't be ineligible if it's just a few lines. So yeah, as I say, feel free to share as much as you think is necessary, as much as you feel comfortable with. Not going to exclude you for a few lines or anything like that. And as I say, it's open till 5 p.m. today. So I will try and get finished up a few minutes early and let you all have a little look at that and get your comments in on Facebook or Twitter. And you can have a look. So yeah, good stuff. So yeah, as I say, it's still a few questions of the week coming in. We'll give you a bit more time to have a look at the question of the week. I'll pop it up on screen again for you, just in case you were late to the party today. We're looking for artistic ancestors, as I say, painters, sculptors, illustrators, comic book artists, anything at all, or even your own artistic talents. If you've got any hidden talents there, be sure to let us know and we'll read a few of those out in the future. It is World Art Day today, if you're wondering where the link to the artistic ancestors comes from. Thought I would try and tie it into that. So yeah, World Art Day is today. Good stuff. So yeah, good stuff. So before we look at the question of the week, since we have hit 50 million pages on the newspaper archive this week, I thought I would give you some hints and tips as to how to make the most of your newspaper research and how to really hone in these searches and make the most of what you're looking for here. So we'll do that first of all, then we'll do question of the week. Then we will look at a record site you may have missed. So share my screen here. Hopefully you can all see our lovely newspaper search page. I'm sure you all know how to get to this, but just in case you don't, it would just be a case of clicking search, and then you've got your newspapers and periodicals there, and that will take you to this lovely search page. So for the search that we're going to be doing today, we are going to be using the first name and last name box. And for the example I've chose today, as in keeping with the art theme for World Art Day, I've chosen one of my favorite artists, certainly a man by the name of David Hockney. David Hockney is a British pop artist. If you're not familiar with him, I would certainly have a look into him after. Once you've finished this, enter the giveaway, got yourself a drink, have a look at David Hockney. Some brilliant paintings, definitely worth a look. I would definitely recommend. So we're going to search him by his name first of all. And you can see here we have close to 1,500 results that have come up. So that's a lot to get into. 1,500 would be a lot of records to be flicking through, and way too many to sit and flick through what you're looking for. Now, we know the filters on the left-hand side are there. We've got the date filter, the year filter, but even if we narrow that down to the years he was most active, which would have been later half of the 20th century, that's still the bulk of the articles are coming back from that page there. We could do place or county, but when you're looking for someone like an artist, for example, you never know where they're going to be reported. It could be a local paper, it could be a national paper, so that might exclude some results that we would miss. But we do have the article type filter. So if we click on that, you can see we've got 5 different types of article to filter by. So we've got advertisement, article, family notice, illustrated, and miscellaneous. So these are all very useful in their own way, depending on what it is that you're looking for. I've searched for an artist, David Hockney. So say, I know I'm seeing a good few of you coming in with artistic ancestors there. Say you were looking for that ancestor and you wanted to perhaps see if any of their work was published in a newspaper or anything like that, and you wanted to see their actual work, their painting. So what I would do is use the illustrated filter. And if we apply that, that will narrow the search. So it only now shows me pages with pictures. So the picture could be anything. It could be a painting, it could be a drawing, it could be a comic strip, or I know newspapers are particularly popular for the photograph side of things, looking for photos of your ancestors. So this would be the way to do that as well. If you're ever looking for a photo of your ancestor, use the article type and use illustrated when you're popping their name in, and then you'll only get articles with pictures on there. And you can see from the thumbnails on the right hand side that there are pictures in every page that's coming up. And if we open up the first one, this is from the Tatler. I know we always like to talk about going down rabbit holes on newspapers, and the Tatler is a particularly bad example of that. I find myself getting lost in this way too many times. So if we open up the Tatler and we zoom in to the top right corner there, you can see we have one of David Hockney's paintings appearing in the Tatler. I did mention that he's known for his sort of bright colours, so maybe the Tatler being black and white doesn't give us the best example of that, but you can start seeing his work appearing in newspapers. So as I say, I know a lot of you there have got your artistic ancestors in. Definitely recommend having a little look there, just in case anything was appearing in the newspapers at the time. If we go back to the search results, we're back on there, and we'll open up the article type again, and we'll clear off the illustrated. Another thing I know the newspapers are very popular for, I mentioned photographs there, but family notices, that's a really good thing to have a look at in the newspapers, is your family notices. That's your birth, marriage, and death announcements, which are often contain much more detail than you would find in your typical birth index or even a parish baptism on occasion, or a parish record, I should say, on occasion. You'll get more information in a family notice. For this particular search, there are only 2 results, but we'll still have a look at them anyway. We'll apply those filters, and we've got 2 results that have come in there. And let's just have a look at this one. That's from the Hull Daily Mail. And if we click to open that, so you can see that the column on the right-hand side has been highlighted. This is the birth, marriage, and death column, so where all these announcements would typically be found. And the very helpful little search boxes that highlight what you actually search for show us exactly where the article is. And you can see we've got what is a death announcement for Hetty Hockney, the beloved wife of David. Now, in 1822, it's going to be too early to be the David Hockney that I searched for, but he was actually from Yorkshire, so it could be a relation, could be an uncle. It's obviously the same surname, same Christian name as well. So, as I say, might be one worth coming back to in the future as you're starting to build out your family tree. I'll go back to the search results. I won't bother taking you through every single search on there. As I say, there's 5 different ones for you to get into, depending on what you're looking for. We've looked at illustrated, we've looked at family notice. The one thing I'd say is the advertisement one is also particularly good. If you have an ancestor who maybe owned a business or was an artist, was a performer in some description, you can use the advertising one. You could find an advert for the business, could find an advert for the exhibition if they were an artist, or a concert poster if they were a singer, if they were in a band or something like that. So that'll help you. As I say, you can see the difference in numbers there from the original 1500 that showed. And of course, you can apply multiple filters. You could narrow that down even further and start getting stuck into the article types. And as I say, hopefully that'll help you make the most of the 50 million newspaper pages that are now available. And there's bound to be some good stuff out there for you all. So definitely have a look into that over the weekend. I'll stop sharing my screen and I think it might be time to have a look at the question of the week. So I'll pop that back up on the screen whilst I am flicking through for the question of the week. So many comments to get through. Just scroll back up to the top and we'll work our way down. Let's have a look there. So who we got? So we've got Claire. Claire's great-grandmother was a commercial artist and her father was a house painting. Her sister's into art too, and you have a couple of her great-grandmother's paintings. So that's really cool. It's one thing having an artistic ancestor or being able to find them in the newspapers or online, as we've just had a look at, but when you actually have those paintings, you actually have them in your possession. That's a great family heirloom and something really personal as well. It's paintings that your great-grandmother did, so that is definitely something worth keeping a hold of. We've got Ruth. Ruth's mother, second cousin, was Cecil Beaton, Queen Elizabeth's coronation photographer and costume designer for My Fair Lady. So that's really cool. That's 2 different sides of the coin as well. Like I say, artistic ancestors could be anything, could be photographers, could be costume designers, anything like that. So that's really cool as well. And I'm sure you'll be able to find some of her photos in the newspapers as well, perhaps, if she was a photographer. So have a look at that illustrated article type in the newspaper section as well. Let's have a look. We've got Janet. So something a little bit different from Janet. 2 ancestors sang with touring companies of Diole Carte, perhaps. I don't know why you're making me pronounce these things. You saw my Latin there. The opera company, Gilbert and Sullivan comic operas circa 1900. So that's cool. Again, I would definitely have a look in the newspapers for something about them. They would certainly have some gig posters or maybe reviews of concerts or something like that that would be worth looking into. So I would definitely have a look through the newspapers for her. Let's have a look as well. Who else have we got here? Here we go. We've got Jenny. So Jenny's 3 times great-grandfather was Samuel Perrott, and he was an artist and a painter. And there we go again. She's lucky enough to own some of his paintings and a number of artists among his descendants. So it's great to see that you have paintings, you have them in your possession, and also there's a number of artists amongst his descendants as well. One of the cool things about family history, I think, is when you see an ancestor that was an artist and you know that you've got living relatives who are artists, and it all starts falling into place, starts making sense, and you can see how things transcend generations as well. Let's have a little look through here. Still scrolling through the Latin side of things, so we'll keep going. Who have we got here? So Victoria, who's Victoria got? So Victoria's husband is related to artist, painter, and engraver, man of many talents, Gainsborough Dupont, who was nephew and assistant to portrait and landscape painter, draftsman, and printmaker Thomas Gainsborough. So good stuff. As I say, it's a good variety of stuff there, not just one field. Certainly a man of many talents, as I say. So that's really cool to see. And what else have we got? Ro's great uncle was a costume designer and won an Oscar. That's really cool. That's something different again, costume designer and an Oscar winner in the family. Not many people have got an Oscar winner in the family. So if you know the film or you know any more details about that, Roz, that'd be great to hear about. Do let us know what else you know about that as well. And we'll read a couple more out as well. Who else have we got here? So Lloyd, what's Lloyd got? So he's got the Tilley family began as coachmakers and into the Phillips line became heralds. Philip's cousin who did all the fine painting and heraldry for the Guinness redo of St Patrick's Cathedral. On the open paragraph, on the grand opening, he had a full paragraph devoted to him, knowledge directly from the Findmypast newspapers. Good stuff like that's what we want to see. Good to see that you've been able to find him in the newspapers. And yeah, that's some talent. It's amazing when you go to places like that and you see all the fine paintings on the wall. It's not something you really think about the actual process of doing. So being able to have that place to go and you know it was your ancestor that did all the fine painting on that must be especially special to go to. And yeah, like I say, whether you have the paintings, whether there's somewhere you can go to see their work, very, very cool indeed. So no, very jealous about a lot of these. I've yet to find an artistic ancestor. We don't seem to be in the most artistic family necessarily. So I'm very jealous of some of these, as I say, Oscar winners. We've got cathedral painters, illustrators, engravers, all sorts of things going on. So no, some really, really cool ones there. Thank you very much, everyone, for providing them to us there. Got any final little ones coming in? Oh, we've got an update from Roz. Won the Oscar for the original Spartacus movie. His name was Frederick Arlington Val. So no, that's really cool. Spartacus, not a movie I've seen. A bit before my time, as the saying goes. But as I say, definitely worth a look there. So no, really cool. As I say, not many people probably claim to have an Oscar winner in the family. Although if anyone else does have an Oscar winner, do let us know as well. But no, that's really cool. And being able to cool as well, been going back and seeing the old Oscar ceremonies, seeing his name in the credits as well. So good stuff. Thank you very much for the update on that, Roz. Good stuff. So no, thank you very much. As I say, some great answers there, all making me very jealous. Going to need to start digging through those old census records and find someone. Someone must have been good at painting. I know the talent certainly never made its way down to me anyway, but someone has to be in there somewhere with an artistic flair to them. So no, as I say, thank you very much indeed for all of your answers there. Keep them coming. Might come back to that as well. So if any late joiners want to submit any more questions of the week, let us know. Maybe come back to a few at the end of this show. Good stuff. So as you know, we've done the new records. We've looked at some hints and tips that might help you with records as well. So now it'd be time to show you a record set that you may have missed, something that you might not know we have, might not have ever searched before, but might have some answers out there for you. So I'm going to share some slides. Get a little drink of water before we do so as well. So today we're going to talk about a record set, the Easter Rising and Ireland under martial law, 1916 to 1921. This covers the Easter Rising and into the Irish War of Independence, or the Irish Civil War as well. But it'll be coming up for the anniversary of the Easter Rising, so I thought I'd take a little bit of time to tell you about this and how it could help you with your Irish ancestors and Irish descendants as well. So we'll have a little look. So before we look at the records themselves, just a little bit of information about what the Easter Rising actually was. So the Easter Rising was an armed insurrection against British rule in Ireland, and it took place between the 24th and the 29th of April 1916. It was very much concentrated in Dublin, but if you do have ancestors from around Ireland or further afield, as I'm about to show you, then still definitely worth a look, because fighting did take place all over the country as well. And around 1,200 volunteers took part on the side of the Irish Republic, and they were led by 7 key leaders. One of the leaders was a guy by the name of Padraig Pearse. He was a teacher, a poet, a writer from Dublin, based in Dublin. And on Easter Monday, the 24th of April, 1916, he read aloud what was called, read aloud what was called the Proclamation of the Irish Republic on the steps of the General Post Office, or the GPO, as it's also known by. That's a big building on O'Connell Street in Dublin, I believe. I think it's O'Connell Street. Niall's in the comments, so I'm sure he'll happily correct me if it's not, but it's a very large old-style building in Dublin. It's got these sort of like Greek pillar columns out the front of it, and a fascinating place to visit. If you ever are in Dublin, I would definitely recommend a walk by. There's still bullet holes in the wall and in the columns from the Easter Rising. So a very historic place, one that's definitely worth a visit if you are in the area. The Easter Rising itself lasted for 5 days, but was ultimately quashed by British forces, who were far superior in terms of numbers and firepower. So on the 5th day, a surrender order was given. And after that, amongst others, the leaders were then court-martialed and executed in a place called Kilmainham Jail throughout May. A Kilmainham Jail also in Dublin. And again, if you ever are in Dublin, I would definitely recommend booking yourself in for the tour of Kilmainham. Some great stuff. The tour's fantastic. Museum's really cool. A lot of old artifacts and documents that you can see. So another one that is definitely worth a visit if you are in Dublin. And the Easter Rising itself was ultimately unsuccessful. Ireland did remain under British rule after the Rising and under martial law as well, although it could be seen as a precursor for the War of Independence, which was to come in 1919. Certainly a lot of the people involved in the Easter Rising would go on to take part in the War of Independence. So what can we actually expect to find in this record set? So I know a lot of time people tell a story about one individual or a family from the record set, but there's so much stuff out there, wide variety of stuff in this record set. I thought I'd just pull a few examples and see if it could potentially help you with your Irish research. So the first thing to show you is a copy of the Proclamation, which I mentioned there. So this is taken, all images in this are taken from the record set. So this is what would have been read aloud on the day. Important to mention is a much more stylized version of what would have been circulated at the time. At the time, it was very much a black and white text-only document. Wouldn't have had that lovely green ornate border that you see on the outside there, or the photograph of the 7 leaders. Their names can also be found at the bottom of the document, signed at the bottom there as well. Now, as I mentioned, all 7 ultimate men in that photograph were executed for their role in the Rising, and details of that can, of course, be found in the record set as well. So the next thing to show you here is a letter from the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief in Dublin, dated the 12th of May, and this confirms that sentences of death passed on James Connolly and John McDermott. If I jump back, that's James Connolly is the man with the mustache standing back right of there. He was actually born in Edinburgh, funnily enough. Edinburgh, to Irish parents he was born. So sentences of death passed were carried out this morning. As previously reported, these men were tried on the 9th of May, and sentence was confirmed by me, i.e. General Officer Commanding-in-Chief, on that date. So that's an example of what you can find as far as names are concerned, but it's not all about the men and women who maybe fought in the Rising, the leaders, those that were executed or anything like that. Normal people were involved in this as well. And if we go to the next one, this is a snippet from what was the raid reports. So after the Rising, raids were carried out on a number of properties around the city, typically looking for people who may be involved, looking for weapons perhaps, looking for propaganda, anything that might be tied to the Rising. So this is an example from 58 Marlborough Road, and it shows Mr. and Mrs. Hegarty, who were living at the address. And we all know Irish research can be a little bit tricky. There's not always the same colour and stories available. So this is an example of the kind of stories that this might be able to add to your family tree. So if you've got ancestors who had been living in Dublin around 1916, I would definitely recommend having a look, because you can see the sort of things that you're getting from this. For example, Mrs. Hegarty admitted that she was a Republican, although nothing incriminating was found. And I do really like this little line at the bottom here. So during the search, she stated that her purse had been stolen by a soldier. All men were searched on the spot and nothing found on them. She then looked in one of her coat pockets and found the purse in the pocket there, but despite finding the purse herself, still made a few remarks about these soldiers being thieves. So as I say, that's the kind of thing that you might be able to find out about your ancestors if they were even just living in Dublin in 1916. Stories like that, which can help add that real bit of colour to your family tree, which, again, a lot of Irish family trees can potentially be missing. Now, I mentioned at the start that about 1,200 men and women were involved, and that wasn't all people who were born and raised in Ireland or in Dublin. People did come from further afield to take part in this as well. And the last little document to show you here, this shows two brothers, George and Patrick King. George and Patrick King were born in Liverpool to Irish parents, and in 1916 travelled to Ireland to take part in the Rising. So as I say, that's people from Liverpool who travelled over. So if you do have family from, it was typically places that we know with a large Irish presence, like Liverpool, Glasgow, for example, groups travelled over to take part in there. So if you've got ancestors of Irish descent living in the UK at the time, also still worth a look. So this document was from, it's titled Irish Soldiers Interned in Britain. So after their role in the Rising, these two men were transported back to Liverpool, where they were up in court. So 1916, of course, World War I was ongoing at the time, and these two men would have been due to be conscribed to the British Army. But as they'd flown to Ireland to take part in the Rising, they were up in court, they were charged, and were eventually conscribed to the British Army, although it is believed that they refused to fight and were eventually discharged. So I mentioned as well that I was only really going to be speaking about the Easter Rising side of things, not venturing into the War of Independence. But there's a story about the King brothers involved in the War of Independence, which I think is worth showing, shows the kind of the human story behind the individuals on both sides of this. So the King brothers, as I say, took part in the Rising, went back to Liverpool. They found themselves back in Ireland during the War of Independence, which started in 1919, I believe. And they actually found themselves on opposing sides of that conflict. So Patrick was an officer on one side, George was fighting on the other side. And it is a battle which would ultimately claim the life of George. He was shot and killed in the war, with Patrick then being called to identify his brother. So you can imagine the sort of family tragedy, having two sons on opposing sides who, as I say, sadly one was killed. So you can imagine the family story and the rift that must have caused as well. Patrick himself would survive the war and actually went on to fight in World War II as well. Not had a chance to dig too far into that side of things, but definitely one to come back to. I think it's a fascinating story, as I say, especially two guys from Liverpool finding themselves involved in that. So that's a kind of example as to what you can find, as I say, whether you've got Irish ancestors and you're interested in Irish history as a result. You've got people who may have been involved, people who were living in Dublin at the time, or even in fact if your family were in the British Army and may have been in Ireland at the time. I'd also recommend searching for them as well. You might find them named as having carried out the raids. They might have been named on documents giving evidence, for example. So definitely worth a look regardless. And if you are interested in having a look, there are two ways of getting to the record set. You can, under the Military, Armed Forces and Conflict section of the search page, you'll find a Civil War and Rebellion category on the left-hand side. You'll just need to change that where drop down to Ireland. Or, of course, you can use my old friend, the All Record Sets page. If you open that up and search for something such as Easter Rising, you'll get two options. You'll get the search page and you'll get the browse option. As I say, there's so much different stuff in this record set. So if you do just have a general interest in learning more, the browse option's a great way of doing so. You can just flick through the documents, read them side to side. And that's a little look at what the search page would look like. I mentioned about the raid reports. If you are going to have a look for your ancestors in Dublin at the time, if you did have any addresses, perhaps you could pop the street name in there as we saw in the example, there was no first names of the Hegartys. They were just Mr. and Mrs. Hegarty. So maybe try a surname only or an address, and you can have a look. And like I say, hopefully that can help add a bit of a colour to your family tree. I know certainly a lot of families with Irish descent have whisperings and rumours about their family being involved in something like the Easter Rising or the War of Independence. So always good to be able to confirm those family rumours as well. So definitely, as I say, if you are so inclined, definitely recommend having a look. If you have already had a look in this record set, you've been able to find anything, do let us know. And in the comments there, always good to see people using these slightly more niche record sets, shall we say. So I'll close that off. Let's have a look if we've got any comments about that. Ellen says, very interesting. Always like peeks into history that I know a little bit about. That's what we're here for, Ellen. Always happy to give you nice little tidbits, and hopefully that's educational and fun. And Anya says, there's a memorial to James Connolly in the Cowgate in Edinburgh. Yeah, so that's where James Connolly was from, is the Cowgate in Edinburgh. That is born to Irish parents in Edinburgh. So yeah, if you ever are in Edinburgh, a walk down the Cowgate, you can see, I think it's just a plaque on the wall, is it? And I can't remember. I've not actually been myself, not been to Edinburgh for quite a while now, so I'm not sure, but I believe it is just a plaque on the wall. So no, thank you very much for your comments, as I say. Hope that was something a bit different for you to get your teeth into over the weekend. If you've got Irish ancestors, definitely worth a look. Let's have a look. We've got any more? We'll do a few more questions of the week, and then I did say I'll try and wrap up a little bit early, so you've still got time to get that giveaway and get your 12-month pro, get a potential 12-month pro subscription for the newspaper. So we'll finish off a few more questions of the week, and then I'll let you get on with your bank holiday weekend. Let's have a look. So, Ruth's got an Oscar winner. There's Cecil Beaton won 2 Oscars for My Fair Lady costume, and also shared a win for set design. And congrats to Roz's great uncle. Good stuff. Let's have a look. Who else have we got? Janine, her 6 times great-grandfather, Thomas Allgood, developed the art of Japaning. You're going to have to tell me a little bit more about that, Janine. I've not come across that before. And his great-grandson, her 3rd great-grandfather, Langley Allgood, painted murals in churches across England, settling in Whitwick, Leicestershire. So again, I said earlier, it's really cool to see when you have generations and you can see the artistic talent has to come from somewhere. As I say, maybe the fact I don't have any artistic ancestors explains my lack of artistic talent, but it's really cool to see. And as I say, I would love to know more about this Japaning. So if you've got time, do let us know in the comments there, and we can have a little look and see what that is all about. Let's have a look. And it's just a plaque beside one of the bridges at Grassmarket end of the Cowgate. So there you go. As I say, I mentioned a few nice places to visit if you're in Dublin, but if you're in Edinburgh, you can also still take in some old Irish history in the Cowgate in Edinburgh. So definitely worth a look. Let's have a look at any more final questions. Anything there? Get this one from Sandra. So Sandra's interest in the early 1500 and 1700 of Cheshire, England and Wales. Is it a special place to find the records? So I mentioned the all record sets page there. If you were in my first session with Ellie, I ran through how to get the most of that. So if you click search at the top of the page and you choose all record sets, there'll be boxes on the left-hand side for you to enter the county that you're interested in. You can enter the year range as well. So Sandra, I'd recommend all record sets page, pop in your years that you're interested in, pop in the county, and you'll get a list of record sets that cover that county and that time period. So might be some hidden gems out there for you to get that, because I know it can be tricky once you're as far back as the 1500s, 1700s. So yeah, all record sets page, have a little look into that, and we can see what's out there for you. Definitely something out there for you. I'm sure we've got a really good parish collection, so should be something that helps you get involved. So yeah, I think that might be us. What time are we on? We're on 10 to 5, so you've still got 10 minutes. I think Niall put the link to the Facebook post earlier on, perhaps. So if you scroll back through the comments, you might find that, or if you jump over to, if you use Twitter, we're at Findmypast on Twitter. Tell us your favorite family story. Like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be too long, just your favorite one. Tell us as much as you feel comfortable with, as much as you want to tell us about that, and make sure you're in with a chance of winning that 12-month pro subscription, and you can get into the 50 million newspaper pages that we are on now. So yeah, definitely have a look into that. We will, of course, be back next week. I do apologize as well. I did mean to say earlier on that I know we were meant to be live earlier in the week. Jen and Josh Taylor were meant to be live midweek. Unfortunately, it did have to be cancelled for unforeseen circumstances. So that will be rescheduled. So if anyone did miss that, I do apologize, but that will be back. Definitely will be back. So keep an eye out for updates on that. So no, as I say, that was my first solo run. Seemed to go off without a hitch anyway, so I'm sure I'll have some flagrant Slack messages saying something's gone wrong down the line, but as I say, hopefully it went off without a hitch anyway. Thank you very much again for having me. Lovely to see you all again. I will be back at some point, I'm sure, but hope you enjoy the rest of your bank holiday weekend. You have a good Easter if you're celebrating, and yeah, have a good one. I hope it's good for you. See you all later on.